All right, 3.5c, the third video in 3.5 talks about using the point slope formula to create a name of a line describing some information. And the information that we're given now is going to be, we're going to be given a line, and we're going to say, all right, now make a line that's parallel to that or perpendicular to it, depending on the instructions. And we've got to pull some information out of the original line, and we've also got to go through, we'll also have to be given a point. So we'll have to pull out a slope from the given line, and then use the idea of parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have slopes that are the same. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. And then when we pull out the slope, we'll have to use the appropriate slope in the point slope formula. All right, so that said, write an equation of a line that's parallel or perpendicular to another, going through also another point. So let's go through what we've seen. Here's the instructions. If we are given a formula for a line, in other words, here's a line, and I want you to make a line parallel to that line. So we're given if we're given a formula for a line and a point that's not on that line, we can create a line that's parallel to that line. So here's the line we're given. We're given this line here, y equals negative 4x plus 3. And we're given this point here, so make a line that's parallel to the original line that goes through that point. So what we have to do is, let's see, start with what information we can get from our original line. We know if we're looking for parallel lines have slopes that are the same. So if the slope for the given line is slope m equals negative 4, then the slope for the parallel line has to be also equal to negative 4. All right, so if that's true, then now we need to create a line, and we know a point that's not on that line, and we know that the line that we are going to create is parallel to this one, so we know that the slope is here. Slope is negative 4, and it has to go through that point there. Well, what information do we have? We've got a point and a slope. Well, what information do we have to use? We have to use the slope-intercept form. What's the slope-intercept form? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Alright, so if that's the case, then we know the slope is right here. That slope can go right in here. This point here, negative 1, 0, is our x1, y1. And now all we do is just plug in some numbers. Y minus y1, the value for y1 is 0, equals m is negative 4, times x minus, what's x1? The value for x1 is negative 1. So we've got to pay attention to the fact that we're subtracting the value of negative 1. So we're subtracting a negative 1, and we put it in parentheses then to kind of separate that. All right, so now we just simplify this. Y minus 0, we can just kind of throw that one away, equals negative 4. We can't distribute yet, negative 4 times all this, but we can't distribute that because we've kind of got this stuff to kind of clear out first. So here is negative 4 times x minus negative 1 is x plus 1. And now we can distribute that. Y equals negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times a positive 1, negative times a positive, negative. 4 times 1, 4. And there is the equation of a line that is parallel to that line going through that point. And that describes all those points on the line. So that's our goal, and there's our answer. All right, so that's how you do it. With this one, it's a little bit trickier, but really it's, all we do is we do the same thing. We're given a line, and we're given a point, and we want to make this parallel. So make a parallel line. Make a line that's parallel to that line through that point. So we have to find out, number one, slope of our original line is 3/4. Slope of our parallel line is also 3/4. Slope is 3/4 because it's parallel. What's our point? 8, 2. Alright, well, there's our point. There's our information that we have to get. So we have to go through the same type of idea. y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So do me a favor, write this one in your own handwriting, bring it to class, and tell me what the answer to this one is. I've kind of pretty much started it out for you. Number one, we have to know what the slope is. There's our slope going through that point. So point slope formula is what we have to use. There's our point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we just simply need to plug in the number here for x1, y1, and slope right there, and then get our answer right down there. So bring that to me and let me know what that is. All right, next question. Same type of idea. If we're given a formula for a line and a point that's not on that line, and we're asked to give or to create a line that's perpendicular to that line, we certainly can. It's use the same type of idea. So if we're given a formula for a line, all right, well, you know what? Here's our formula for a line. Here's our first formula. There's a line there, 3x plus y equals negative 2. And unfortunately, it's not in slope-intercept form, but it is a formula for a line. And there's a point that's not on the line, and we need to make make a line that's perpendicular to that line. All right, well, first thing is we've got to find, let's see, if we're going to create the formula for that new line, we have to have a point. Well, there's a point there, and we have to have a slope as well, because then we can use the point slope formula. But unfortunately, we really don't have a slope that's given to us, because it's not this line is not in slope-intercept form. So we've got to modify this just a little bit. So we're going to start with our line, our original line. We're going to say that 3x plus y equals negative 2. And we're going to find the slope of that line. Well, how do we find the slope? Well, we put it in the slope-intercept form. We put the y on the left side and the x and the number term on the right side. We do that by subtracting 3x here and subtracting 3x on the right side also to get y equals negative 3x minus 2. So in our original line, the slope equals y equals mx plus b. When it's solved for y, when the formula is solved for y, 1y, then the number in front of the x is our slope. Slope is negative 3. All right, so now if I'm asked to give or to create a line perpendicular to that, well, we know that slopes of perpendicular lines aren't negative reciprocals. So if I say that my slope here, m equals negative 3 or m equals negative 3 over 1 in my original line, well, then that means that my perpendicular line has to have a negative reciprocal of this. If that's negative, this has to be positive. If that's 3 over 1, this has to be 1 over 3. So the slope of my perpendicular line has to be 1/3. All right, well, that information, along with this information, the point, allows me to use the point slope formula. So let's write that down. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And all we're doing now is, I'm going to label this up here, x1, y1. So here's my x1 right here. Here's my x1 and y1. x1 is negative 3, y1 is positive 1. Slope is 1/3. All these numbers go in here, right there, and right there, and right there. So let's plug in some numbers. Y minus y1, y1 value is 1, equals slope m, 1/3, times x minus, what's my x1 value? Negative 3. Don't worry, I know we've got fractions here, but it clears out pretty easily. All right, we can't distribute that 1/3 yet because we got that minus a negative 3 because our value for x1 is negative 3. x1 goes in here, the subtraction sign stays there. So let's just simplify this a little bit. Y minus 1 equals 1/3 times x minus a negative 3 is x plus 3. Now we can distribute. Y minus 1 stays the same, equals 1/3 times x is, well, 1/3 x. 1/3 times 3 is, let's see, 1/3 times 3 is 1/3 times 3 over 1. The numerator is 1 times 3. The denominator is 3 times 1. So it's 3 over 3 is basically just 1. 1/3 times 3 is 1. All right. And now all we have to do is just move that plus 1, move the negative 1 over, move the negative 1 by adding 1 to each side. And what do we get? I get y equals 1/3 x plus 2. And there is my answer for the line, we've created a line, so make a line. We sure made a line. Y equals 1/3 x plus 2 is a line that is, number one, perpendicular to that original line. The original line here, we figured out, had a slope of -3. So the perpendicular had to have a negative reciprocal, negative here, positive here, 3/1 here, 1/3 here. And it had to go through that point. So then we had a point and a slope, and we just filled in the point slope formula and did some work and came up with that answer there. All right, do that same idea now over here. We're given this line here, and we're given that point there. We need to create a line that goes through that point that's perpendicular to that one there. So we have to, number one, do this kind of green work over here to modify our original line to kind of find out what the slope is. Find out what the slope is. We're going to find the slope is some number, and then the perpendicular slope has to be the negative reciprocal of that slope here. And then we will have a point and a slope, and we should come up with y equals mx plus b formula somehow down here, using, number one, calculating what the slope of the original formula is, and then using our point slope formula to come up with a y equals mx plus b format. So bring that into class and we'll talk about it.